Hi, and welcome to the Old Cat Lady vlog, episode 4. And this is another paranormal story I wanted to tell you about. Now, this is probably the strangest thing that has ever happened in my life. It happened 40 years ago, 41 years ago. I have never forgotten it. It was interesting. I still don't have an explanation for it, and I don't really. Um, Sometimes I even have to think that did this really happen. I know that it did, but I don't know why it happened. And here's the story. I used to hang out with some shady characters when I was a teenager. I hung out in some shady places, and I was not exactly the angel of being a teenager. And so I used to hang out at this place. A lot of kids hung out after school when we skipped school. And I happened to be there one day, and I was about to leave. I was going to find a friend, and I went outside, and there was this guy standing out there. And we see how you eyes meet, that kind of thing. Anyway, so we started talking, and we took a walk together, and we were walking around and talking, and anyway, so this ended up being a 3-month thing where we just walked around. I never saw where he lived. He never saw where I lived. There was just, it was just, I'd see him when I skipped school, or I'd see him after school, and we would take these walks. He's probably maybe 2 or 3 years older than me, maybe a little more than that. He was probably closer to like 20 or something. He was he was an adult. I looked like an adult, but anyway, so this went on for about 3 months. And one night, I was going to there's this alleyway in the downtown of my hometown, and I was going into the alleyway. It was probably about maybe midnight or so, and it was very foggy. It had rained that day. It was hot, and the fog was really thick. And so I headed down the alley, and there's a pub on this side that was in the basement, and there's a pub on this side in the basement in two different buildings, and then around the corner there's another bar, which was a strip club. And so I went down. I was going to go down into this pub, go shoot some pool, because they let us come down there as long as we didn't drink. We could go in there and eat food, and we could shoot pool and play games. And so I was headed down, and out of the fog, as I'm walking down the alley, is this guy. His name was David. And here he is. And he's like, wow, I was looking for you. I'm like, oh, okay, well, here I am. And I said, I'm going to the pub. You want to go? And he's like, no, 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 no. He says, I just wanted to talk to you. And he said, I'm leaving. He says, I have to go. I won't be back, and I'm going home. And I'm like, okay. And I knew home was California. And he said, I'm going home, and I probably won't see you again, but maybe we'll see each other someday again, and I'll keep in touch. So, I'm 14 years old. My heart's broken. I'm like, that kind of thing. And so he turns around and walks away back into the fog and heads on to wherever his life is taking him. And, I was, my feelings were hurt a little bit, that kind of thing. And so anyway, a few weeks later after this, here's the real story. A few weeks after that, I went to my friend Rachel, which is not her real name. And Rachel had sort of traveled around the country a lot, and she had hitchhiked around, and she was like, when she wasn't in business. And so I was talking to her, and I said, I met this guy a few months ago. I really thought, this is like the man I want to love forever and ever. You're 14. What do you want? And she said, oh, really? And she says, so I start telling her about him. I said, yeah, he's from California. His name's David. He's got, dark wavy hair, blue eyes, and and she goes, that sounds just like a guy that I used to know when I was in California. And his name was David, too. That's really a coincidence. I'm like, yeah. And she says, well, it couldn't have been him because he died a year ago. I'm like, oh. So definitely it's not him. And she got this look on her face. She goes, hold on a minute. She went in and got her photo album out and brought it out there. And she opens it up, and there's a picture of her, David, and 2 other people in this photo. It was him. I said, didn't you say he died? And she said, yeah, he was killed in a car accident about a year ago, right before I left California. She said, I know, because I went to the man's funeral. I'm like, that is the man that I met. She says, well, that's not possible. I said, it is. That is him. And so she and I both sat there for a long time trying to figure this out. We're arguing back and forth trying to figure out, how could this possibly be, unless he had a twin brother. I mean, it's possible that the man had a twin brother, but this guy's name was David too, so that kind of knocks that out of the ballpark. And so I started thinking about it, and I thought about it a whole lot over the years, and I started realizing he never talked to me when anybody else was around. I never introduced him to anybody. He never went inside of a building with me. He never got in a car with me. He never went to my house. I never went to his house. I can't give any reason for this. I can't explain this. And I can't, because he was as solid as me or you. And because he hugged me and kissed me before he left. Now, somebody told me, well, baby, you were possessed. I don't think so, because I don't think if I were possessed, I wouldn't have such a memory of this like I do. That even after 41 years is as clear as it was that day. And I can't explain this, and I don't know. It has always bothered me, but to this day, now I believe. Then I didn't. Then I thought, oh, this was something just weird. But now I realize that it most likely was maybe some sort of paranormal experience, because I never heard from that person again. My friend Rachel never heard from that person again. She went to the man's funeral. But what I can't understand is, what was his attraction to me? I mean, Rachel was his friend, so why would he come back here to where we lived at that time, which was not here, but where we lived at that time? Why would he come back there? But he knew Rachel in California. Was he there looking for Rachel and then just met me and because I knew her? I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand it at all. So anyway, that's my paranormal story, my strangest event of my life. And if any of you have any comments on this, or if any of you have had a similar type of situation where you've had a paranormal encounter to this extent, because like I said, this went on for 3 months. Every day, every other day, I would run into David, and David and I would take a walk down, around town, around, where I was, where we were at. But like I said, we never went inside. Anytime I ever said, oh, I want to go to the pub, or I want to go over here, he's like, well, I have some business to take care of, I gotta go. And I would not see him again on the next day. And at the time, I never thought that was weird, but now I realize that was weird. Yeah. And so anyway, like I said, if you have any comments about it, or if you've had a similar situation, I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear your story, so you can either subscribe to the channel and post a comment about the story, and I'll be happy to relay that in my next vlog. Or you can send me go to the Facebook page, the Old Cat Lady blog on Facebook, and you can send me a message there, or you can post on the my Facebook page, or you can send it to me on Twitter at the Old Cat Lady vlog on Twitter. And so I've got to put those addresses. I think they are. The links are there. So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great weekend, and bye-bye.